Welcome to hurricane season in Florida. Well, technically hurricane season in Florida is from June 1st to November 30th, but this is our first hurricane that's going to make landfall in 2023. So I figured what better time than now to kind of talk about hurricane season and how to prepare for it. So we're going to kind of talk about the models and how they know where the hurricane's going to go. We're going to talk about the different categories of hurricanes, how to prepare for hurricanes, what most Floridians do during hurricanes. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to give you some insider tips that most of the locals who live here and have been through numerous hurricanes, where this is not our first one, kind of do, and how to be prepared for everything and anything. So first up, let's talk about the path. So one of the nice things about hurricanes compared to other natural disasters like that of tornadoes and earthquakes is they kind of have an idea of where it's going to go, and you do get a heads up. Yes, it can take some turns here and there, but for a general idea, they do know where it's going to go. So you've probably seen like all those spaghetti models where like it's going 15,000 different directions, but for the most part, it's on one general path, and that's where they kind of feel like it's going to go. Obviously, it can deviate, turn, and wobble one way or the other, but they do have kind of a heads up. So on average, you do get about a 36-hour heads up or a warning. And they do know what kind of strength it's going to be at when it hits too. It's not like, oh yeah, there's a storm coming. It could be, all right, or it could be a category 5. It's not like that for hurricanes, which is really nice. You do get a little bit more of a heads up. Like anywhere else, we do have natural disasters. But for hurricanes, it's, you're a little bit more prepared, more so than other storms that could hit. So now let's talk about how to categorize hurricanes. So as you probably know, there's everything from category 1 all the way up to category 5. But before you get to category 1, there's also tropical storms. So tropical storms, and they do this all based on the wind speed. So tropical storms are anywhere from 39 to 73 miles per hour. Then once we get into category 1, category 1's from 74 to 95 miles an hour. Category 2 is from 96 to 110 miles an hour. Category 3 is from 111 to 129 miles an hour. Category 4 is 130 miles an hour to 156 miles an hour. And then category 5 is 157 miles per hour plus. So anything stronger than 157 miles per hour, it's a category 5. There's no such thing as a 6 and a 7. I know you'll see that on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all that crap. There's no such thing. Top of the levels are category 5. And oddly enough, a lot of the damage from these hurricanes actually isn't from the wind. And I know it sounds kind of crazy to think about 157 plus miles per hour, and most of the damage isn't from that wind. What the hell are you talking about? So don't get me wrong, there is some damage from the wind, but most of it actually comes from the water from these hurricanes. So think about it, we're having torrential downpours, so you can have flooding. Like for example, in Fort Lauderdale, probably a couple months ago, there was not even a hurricane, it was just a normal storm, and there was torrential downpours, and we had a ton of flooding and flash flooding. So think about that now multiplied by a hurricane that all of a sudden hits land and stops moving and just starts sitting there. So that's one thing from the rainfall. But the bigger thing is actually the storm surges. So if you think about it, Florida is completely surrounded by water, and most of the damage from these hurricanes is along the coastline. Number one, because there's homes in the water, and you have the beach. I mean, for the most part, we are at sea level or just slightly below sea level. So when we have these storm surges, they can be anywhere from 3 feet all the way up to 25 plus feet. So can you imagine 25 or even like, let's just call it 10 feet of water all of a sudden rushing into your home when you're living there and then you're coastal? And that's really where we see most of the damage. So that's why flood insurance is a very big thing here in Florida. And yes, it's just like, I'm paying it every month. It might not happen, but when it does happen, you better be safe. It's better to be safe than sorry and have it. And that's where, like I said, most of the damage occurs. And like I wanted to reiterate, don't get me wrong, the wind still causes damage, but for the most part, a lot of it is from the water and the storm surges. So let's now kind of talk about what most like native Floridians and people who have been here for numerous years and they've been through a ton of hurricanes actually do during hurricanes. A lot of the time, and you see all the memes and stuff, is they have hurricane parties. So for the most part, anything like a tropical storm, category 1, category 2, people really aren't too concerned with it. For them, it seems like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's better to be safe than sorry, but for the most part, it's kind of just like having a bad like thunderstorm in the afternoon. And a lot of the thunderstorms here are kind of bad. There's a lot of wind whipping around, a ton of rain, thunder, lightning. So like it does feel exactly the same as that. So a lot of people have parties, they get drinks, everything, everyone's over, hanging out. People are out and about doing like pretty much their normal thing. Yeah, some stores and restaurants and shops are closed, but for the most part, everyone's just hanging out. I mean, some bars will be open and things. So like it's normal life as it is. It's just a rainy day kind of thing. And once you kind of get up into maybe the category, depending on the category 3, category 4 and 5, probably not so much of this. But it is something that does happen, and it's kind of interesting for native Floridians. While people who've just moved here all of a sudden are freaking out over a tropical storm, most Floridians are like, yeah, whatever, it's just some rain, we're gonna go party, hang out, you wanna come over? So that's one thing to think about when you're thinking about these hurricanes and things that are coming towards Florida. So now let's talk about how to prepare not only your home, but also your family for these hurricanes. I think number one is to make sure your home is secure. So make sure that you, number one, take in everything that you have outside that could be possibly blown around or all of a sudden be picked up and turned into a weapon. Like just think about like a flying chair or flying tiles, things like that. So bring in all like your loose stuff outside. Next is probably take care of your windows. Most homes in Florida, at least the newer ones, do have impact windows. You don't have to worry so much about it. But if you don't have impact windows like myself, you have to put up the metal shutters, or you have accordion shutters, which are so much easier. You literally just pull them together and then lock it with the key in the middle. The metal ones you gotta put up, screw in, and then some people don't have either one of those, and you gotta put up plywood just to protect your windows, because like I said before, all of a sudden that wind picks up, takes something, makes it into a projectile, goes through your window and could hurt someone. So it's better to be safe than sorry. Plus windows are expensive. You don't want to be replacing windows. Next thing is to make sure you have plenty of water. You'll go to like Publix, your local grocery store, whatever it is that you're going, and it'll look like all of a sudden you're an I Am Legend and there's no water anywhere. So definitely stock up on water, whether it's the gallon jugs or cases of water. Get as much as you possibly can, but also be considerate of others. While you're there, you might as well get some food. So get some non-perishable food, things that are easy to eat, things you can eat out of the can in case you do lose power. My go-to, you gotta get the tuna packets, the buffalo one. That's the best one. Sweet Thai chili is not too bad either. It's a close second. But just things like that, and you gotta think maybe snacks, chips, anything that you don't have to really use electricity for, because God forbid you lose power. If you get a steak and you're inside, you can't cook it unless you get the grill out, and you can't get the grill out if it's pouring down rain and the wind's whipping. So you can have some steaks for later after the hurricane, but just be prepared. Next is getting gas. So you'll see the gas lines around like the gas stations, especially Costco and BJ's, like all the way down the street, because people are loading up. Make sure you get gas in all your vehicles. Plus you get a couple containers for anything that you're gonna run. So a lot of people have generators. It's always a great idea to have a generator. Some people might have a couple of them, because think about it, everything we do nowadays is really like electronics and day-to-day stuff like that. It doesn't take batteries. So you're gonna have to be able to charge it one way or another, whether with a generator, those little solar packs, portable chargers, or even in your car. So you just wanna have something. Plus you wanna be able to run some lights at night with the generator if it's dark out, because like, yeah, I wanna walk around with a candle and feel like I'm in medieval times, but yeah, I'd much rather have some lights going and maybe, you know, some AC, because it's still freaking hot out here. So kind of think about that. On top of that, just have like all your essentials. So some Band-Aids, first aid kit, batteries, anything that you're gonna need, candles, just be prepared, some matches, and kind of put them in a Ziploc bag. Important paperwork, just anything that you could think of that might be important. God forbid it does get pretty bad. This way you have it and you're prepared. So now, like I said, some local tips from people who have been through multiple hurricanes and kind of lived here and are native Floridians. So I would say probably the first thing is to take some cash out. And I know it sounds kind of strange, like some people might not even know what cash is, because all they do is Apple Pay and use their credit card tap to pay. But think about it, if power goes out and you have to go get something, you have to pay for something, you can't use your credit card, you can't use Apple Pay because the readers won't be online. So just take out some cash. I'm not saying take out a couple grand, but you know, maybe a couple $100 just in case. So like you can go get something at the grocery store, you need it, or if you need anything, you have the ability to go and get it. It's just better to be safe than sorry. Top of that, I'd probably say next thing, have a couple games, whether it's board games or cards, Uno, anything like that to kind of do and pass the time. Because if you do lose power, like what are you gonna do? Just kind of walk around, twiddle your thumbs, run up and down the hallway? I mean, you gotta find something to do to stay active. Not everyone's got a home gym in their garage where they can just, you know what, screw this, I'm just gonna go get a pump. You gotta find something to do to stay active and kind of, you know, just keep your mind going so you're not just like sitting there and like, So find something to do. I think the next thing is, so after everything is cleared, one of the really fun things to go and do is if you can get a skim board. There'll be a lot of sitting water, so obviously you have to be careful of it, but you know, at the parks and stuff, especially the baseball fields and the football fields, getting just enough water, maybe like an inch, half an inch, where you can go skimboarding like you're at the beach, and just like, it's perfect for it, and it's a lot of fun, and it's something to do, especially after you've been cooped up inside for like maybe 2-3 days. You get out there, and as long as you're careful, it's still a lot of fun. And then I think probably the last thing is, if you do lose power, you gotta think about it. You can't be opening and shutting your fridge and freezer. So if you're gonna cook some stuff that's in your freezer, especially on the grill, get some of your neighbors around, have a block party, get to know your neighbors, make sure they're okay. be able to hang out with them. Plus it builds camaraderie and you're getting to cook all the stuff in your freezer. Some people might have better stuff than the others. Plus this way you're not wasting money and things aren't going bad. So it's definitely a more creative way to kind of make sure nothing goes bad and you get to meet your neighbors. So that's everything you need to know about hurricane season here in Florida. A little bit about what the models look like, the categories, how to prepare for it, what Floridians do, and what the locals do to make sure that your hurricane season is as safe as possible. Obviously, you can't control everything, but you could be as prepared as possible at the end of the day. So let me know in the comments down below, did I miss anything that you do with your family to prepare for hurricanes? And if you or anyone you know are looking to buy or sell here in South Florida or Florida in general, we'd love to be your real estate resource of choice. You can email me, joe@theveragroup.com, or you can call or text me, numbers down below. Other than that, we'll see you in the next video.